Greg, let's talk about the social selling breakfast we had on social listening, and we got a special guest following that.
That's right. Yeah. So we had on Tuesday at the City Club in beautiful downtown Raleigh, not just downtown Raleigh. We had actually our social selling breakfast that we try to do every month or every other month at City Club, and we had actually talked about social listening and using hashtags for social selling. So we covered a number of great topics. We had a fantastic crowd of people who had came out for a great breakfast and even better presentation. We had talked about having a listening and response strategy, which I think that it's perked up some ears as well, because most of the time folks, especially in sales, they just don't know how to respond to either PR nightmares or how to respond with etiquette to somebody that they find on social, right?
Well, yeah, and the topic was social listening and hashtags for B2B sales professionals. So that was an important piece that to me isn't on we know how to listen in sales in person, but the active listening online as part of social selling is what we were focusing on.
That's right. So we kind of talked about creating a routine around social listening and what to look for using hashtags, what sort of tools to look at. And then also finding those conversations. And one of those ways to find a conversation online, especially on Twitter or even in Instagram, is going to be actually, in particular, using hashtags to find chats. On Twitter, we'll call them Twitter chats. And I don't know if they're really doing a whole lot of chats on Instagram at this point, but you never know.
Well, you've been a guest on a number of them and learned a lot of stuff from it. So that's another area to bring up, which leads to...
Yeah, so one of the apps that we had actually talked about that we feel salespeople should be using, especially if they're building a Twitter following, is actually Sales Prodigy, which is available on iOS and Android, both platforms. If you have a Twitter account or Instagram account, then we strongly recommend actually using this application. But we have a guest today with us. His name is Mik Lernout, and he is from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. This is I think our first international guest. So we're quite happy about that. And he's the CEO and founder, I believe, of Sales Prodigy. So thank you very much for joining us, Mik.
Yeah, thanks so much for inviting me, guys. I'm super happy to join you. I wish I could say happy to join you from sunny Vancouver, but it's cloudy here.
Oh, no.
Well, maybe someday we'll have an excuse to go. I really enjoyed my visit to Canada. I went to I got a few tours when I was a kid, but love to get back.
Nice. And I think I talked to Greg before. I love Raleigh and that entire area. It's such a great place. I'd love to come over as well.
That's right. I think you were down here not too long ago, right? Or you'd worked out of here?
Yeah.
I'll have to take you.
Sorry, my previous company, we had a sales office there, so I spent a lot of time in Raleigh. It was a lot of fun.
We'll have to take you to some of our wonderful microbreweries here that have popped up in the last few years.
I should catch up on that. That sounds like an excellent idea.
Very good. So why don't we go ahead and start and give you the floor a little bit. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about your background and the background of the company. Why you got started. And I guess what is it like to be out of Vancouver and running a business there?
Cool. Yeah. Thanks so much. I'll start out just by confessing something. So I'm originally a techie. I'm not a sales background guy. So I moved. I'm actually from Belgium. That's where the accent comes from. I moved to Vancouver 10 years ago. I joined a startup here called Mik Technology. I was kind of the CTO there. I ran technology there for about 7 years. And basically spent those 7 years on the road a lot with salespeople. And that's kind of where I first started to build a deep appreciation for the craft, for what it's like to be a salesperson, what it's like to be an account executive, and how hard it is, but also I know how high the ups are, and that's where I got a taste of entrepreneurship as well. So did that for about 7 years. We sold the business to Dell out of Austin, the computer guys, in 2012. Stuck around with Dell for a bit, and then when I left them, we originally at Mik Technologies, we were a vendor for, or we sold to IT departments. And when I left, I made a decision to to just go after salespeople. I really felt that there's a huge gap. I mean, if you look at all of the different roles and that are out there in business right now, in different companies, I feel like sales is one of those roles that have the least support from technology. And so that's really what I wanted to focus on. And I was really passionate about social media as well. Being from Vancouver, headquarters of Hootsuite and a couple of other really good social media companies, it's hard not to be excited about social media. And so I decided to combine those two and kind of stumbled into social selling. And yeah, so we started to play last August, so pretty recent. And it's just started building up the tech. We just give a bit of history on the company. We raised some funding and got some investors on board last October, some local ones. Actually was led by a local VC here called Cross Pacific Capital Partners. Great partners of ours are also on our boards, and then a bunch of local angels as well. And then basically been spending the last, or since last August, so about a year now, building out this technology, Sales Prodigy. We'll spend some time later, I'm sure, talking about it. But basically, with this kind of sole mission of how can we help salespeople use social media to build these rewarding relationships and to build these authentic relationships. And you kind of mentioned before, you want to talk about social selling. That's kind of one. I have a little anecdote. So I told you I was at Techie, one of the very first trade conferences I was at. We were doing a demo of our technology, and this was a Gartner conference out in Orlando, and it was me in the booth. I was the booth babe, and then our sales guy, and our VP of sales. And I was really excited about this demo, and so I would grab people from the floor and show them our awesome technology. And my VP of sales, like after an hour or so, took me aside and said, "I'm going to tell you one thing. You need to shut up. You need to ask one question in the beginning, and just be interested and just listen to people. And then when you show your demo, when you're going to ask, when you ask questions or when you talk about what we do, you're going to put it in a context that makes sense." And that's kind of where it started, like this. I think great salespeople and all the great salespeople that I've worked with, they're just great listeners, and they have this deep interest in really understanding a customer. And so that's why when we started Sales Prodigy, we thought, okay, we need to crack the listening, understanding part first, and then we can start talking about things later in the sales process or steps later in the sales process. Yeah, that's really where, I mean, that's kind of where a lot of this started. And so yeah, we're doing a bunch of things right now. We're adding integrations, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But it's a pretty exciting time for us. It's a very exciting time for us to be in social selling as well.
Very good. So right now, I mean, you got some pretty good insight on what you're seeing with regards to social listening for sales. When you do show your application to a salesperson, I mean, what is their initial response? What does that aha moment actually look like for them?
It really depends. It's a great question. Like, it really depends. I think this might sound weird. I think there's kind of two things that really motivates, that inspires salespeople. There's kind of this greed, like there's information out there and it can help you close a deal, find a lead, like those types of things. And I think some people really catch on to the fact that we can find those things and we can push them in front of them at just the right time, and they're not going to miss them. And at the other end, there's also fear. There's kind of greed at one end, and there's fear at this other end, which is that I think a lot of salespeople realize that a lot of their competitors, a lot of their peers are using social media heavily, and they're spending a lot of time in it. And there's this kind of fear of missing an opportunity that's just right there in front of them. And where you have a particular prospect or a potential lead that's actually saying something that you can react to, and you're missing it. So I think it's kind of in between that balance between fear and greed. And I think that's where a lot of these people, they just get it. Like, they know social media is a big thing. They're kind of dabbled in it. But for me, kind of that, them realizing that this is something that can actually act on, it's something that can contribute directly to their quota, like those types of things are I think the moments where people kind of shift over, thinking like, we need to do something with this. We need to start using the tools and these techniques.
Excellent. So you started on on mobile. So, and I noticed that you try to log into the website, and actually, I don't think you can. So, so you started on mobile, and you kind of explained the strategy behind that.
Yeah, I think when I started, and kind of came from my background, so my previous company was a B2B high-tech company, and so most of the salespeople that I am used to working with are heavily in our field salespeople, account executives, field execs flying around, and so that's kind of where we started. Like, we needed to be an app that's on your body the entire time, and we need to be in the computer that you have all the time. So that's where us kind of deciding to start with mobile started, and now we realized now we're selling more and more we're getting used, and we're selling more and more to inside sales teams, and even for them, their job doesn't stop when they walk away from their computer. So even though we got some pretty good support for desktop, and we're adding some additional support in the future, like a salesperson's job doesn't stop or end when they're in front of their desktop, and those opportunities don't stop and end as either. So if you're driving home, you're on the couch at home, like, those are the moments where you can really make a difference. And I think for us to kind of talked before about that kind of competitive angle, if you can react to somebody saying something a couple of hours before the other person, just because you know it, like right when you're on the couch and you get a notification on your phone and you can respond to it, those are kind of the magical moments that we want to hunt for. Mm-hmm. So mobile has been a very, very conscious choice, and we're going to keep pursuing that, but we also want to be on other platforms as well.
Very good. I mean, Martin was just saying before that, how much he loves the interface, and I enjoy it as well. So it's
you've really done some work to me on some ergonomics of the interface, and I think the joy of using is, to me, a very important piece on these things, because many times I'm fumbling around to try to find something, and I've when I started it was. It kind of started inviting me to connect on things, but it was clear. It's not like all of a sudden all my friends are notified of something I didn't know why type things that some of them do.
Sure.
And then adding in the competitors and others. So I just want to give kudos for that. And I thought, if you could give briefly kind of like, what does it look like for someone getting online and using it? Just so that if they're just listening, this is a podcast that goes out, they can hear this is what walking through getting online and starting looks like.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, it's pretty simple. So like I said, it's a mobile app. So you download it on your mobile, and when you start it up, you initially sign up with Twitter, and we ask you a couple of really simple questions. That's kind of where it starts off. The first one is, who do you sell to? So we hook up to your CRM. You can also upload the address book that's inside of your phone. We're about to launch Google Contacts as well, and we're heavily pursuing a bunch of other CRMs as well. But it's very important for us to know who you sell to. From the moment we hook up to your CRM, we pull in all of your accounts, your opportunities, your prospects, your leads, your contacts, and then we go and we automatically go and find their social profiles. So from the moment we know who you sell to, we try to understand, kind of going back to listening, trying to ask you a couple of questions, what you're all about. So what type of industry are you in? What type of products do you sell? What are some of the keywords and topics that you're interested in? Who do you compete with? So we ask a couple of those questions, and from the moment we know who you are as a salesperson, who you sell to, we can start listening to all of your prospects. And we basically listen to everything that they say, and so it can be a pretty large amount of data, and we feed all of that into something that I call our relevance engine. So it's this engine that knows about you, knows about what you care about, has access to your historical sales data, has access to your location if you want to, and it looks at all of those posts, and whenever it finds something that's highly relevant for you, it pushes out a notification to you, and it shows it inside of the stream, inside of the app. So we pull in all of your contacts, automatically find their social profiles, start looking at each of them, and then start pushing notifications to you.
Does this have kind of a basic level of machine learning going on here, is what I hear in the background, not to give away any trade secrets?
No. Yeah, that's actually probably the thing that I think that we're probably the most excited about. Like I think a lot of tools out there are relatively, and to some degree, like we're not there yet, but I think there are a lot of tools out there that are relatively simplistic in terms of here's a couple of keywords and we're just going to show you all the matches for these keywords, and that's great for a whole bunch of different purposes. I think for us, we really wanted to use our understanding or the app's understanding of you as a salesperson, what you care about, to carefully curate what we show to you and what we think is more important than something else. And so we're running a couple of experiments right now with some of the teams that are using us, and for example, based on which deals you've committed to close, specific targeted competitors that you're going after, to, for example, surface those posts or make those posts more relevant than other posts. And really, I mean, we want to push out notifications that people can act on, that people are excited about, and we don't want people to deal with too much noise. That's probably, if you kind of talk about what we spend most of our time in the development side working on, it's those two sides. It's making it really easy to use, and then making sure that we don't show noise and that we just show relevant information.
There's one thing sometimes in areas where internet phone costs more for people, and I'm just wondering if there's a way where you can make it so it does most of its activity on a Wi-Fi versus wireless. Now, this is outside the normal request, but just popped in my head because, I'm noticing with all these things going on in the phone, people can start eating up their bandwidth. And
no, absolutely.
Where I am, where more rural, they're paying a lot for that still.
Sure. Yeah. No. I think it's actually really interesting. So we talked before. Like I'm kind of passionate about this particular subject because I think there's this core idea. I mean, when we started the company, we thought about this particular audience. So we want to focus for these salespeople that want to get value out of social media. And from the moment you start building a product or a piece of software or a company around a particular persona, it's so important to understand that particular persona in all its different aspects. And so one thing that we're thinking a lot about is we've got these certain people, and they're usually inside sales reps, they're skewed kind of younger. They've kind of been brought up in social media. They want to have a lot of notifications. Like whenever something happens, they don't mind like being on their phone all the time, and they have these different, the way that they deal with data is very different. And then you have other people that just want, for example, a mail every day with a list of, or just once a day, tell me what happened today and kind of give me a report. So we want to service all those different needs, and we're working hard on figuring that out. Like how can we make it that certain people can be bothered a lot and other people can be kind of be left alone and just get the most valuable pieces when they want to actually consume it. Yeah.
Well, and the other idea is just the possibility of having it only update on Wi-Fi or not, like some of the picture ones. It's just one because I'm in the field of social media and I eat up a lot of bandwidth with so many updates and learning. I'm starting to go, I might need to throttle some of these back. So that, I don't know if there's enough need for that, but I just thought I'd mention it.
No. I think
I was when you and I had actually first made contact, I had actually reached out to you about how I wanted to turn off the vibrating notification in the phone because I mean when you have 5,000 folks you're following, and then this is reciprocated as well.
You're sitting there like this.
You're
all
like,
the time.
Man, that thing's going off a whole lot in my phone. They're all talking about.
Oh yeah. And we're definitely fighting that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the ability to at least turn off the vibration because it did go a lot. And that's my fault. That's not the application's fault. It was actually there's a lot of conversations out there. But having that ability to turn it off does save battery life, which I do like. But the other thing that I've done now is that I have my Sony SW3 smartwatch, and I do get the notifications on here to tell me that something is going on as well, that someone has tweeted something, so I can go directly back and it opens up the app inside my phone. Now, I don't know if that was you guys doing that or is that just Android developed to do things like that, but that helps keep the phone in the pocket.
We'll take credits.
That's right. Right on.
Absolutely. It's actually interesting. We're pretty excited about smartwatches, and I think we have a bunch of people that are using it on Apple Watch, on a couple of on Android Wear. So yeah, I think that is super interesting, because that's perfect. I mean, if you kind of look at what we're trying to do, is trying to curate these most important events and pushing to you. Like, a smartwatch is a perfect location for that type of information. So that's something we're definitely looking very closely.
Cool. So let's talk about a couple of things inside the application itself. And since I've started using it, you pushed out a couple updates. And I think one of the updates you pushed out was the ability to kind of organize the folks that are sharing that content, but actually organizing them within the application. Tell me a little bit about the thought behind that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is something we launched, I think about 4 weeks ago or so, maybe a bit longer. But anyway, one thing that we found is we had a lot of users that, for example, you would use a CRM, or that would integrate with some type of content management tool, but inside of their CRM or inside of their content management, they don't actually have that much information around, for example, who are influencers or who are competitors. Like, that type of data just doesn't exist there. And we find that data super interesting when we're trying to figure out how important something is. So we basically, and then at the other end, we also had people that just weren't using a CRM at all. So they were using our app, and our app automatically sucks in everybody that you're following as well as contacts, and then you can configure those. And so we had kind of those different two audiences. So we decided to add this ability to categorize people yourself or contacts yourself. So if you're somebody you're following, to say, hey, this is a competitor, or this is a potential prospect, and then we can use that information to start curating the information that they're posting as well. And then you can also track that. And one of the things that we're definitely working on the Salesforce side, and it's something that we're going to push to the other CRMs as well, is to actually push that data back into the CRM. So when you, for example, say a particular Twitter account is a prospect, that we actually create a lead or a contact for you in Salesforce and set it up for you. So that's something that we're working on right now with a couple of the teams that are using it.
Well, the smart analysis part is something I'm enjoying with Nimble, just because as a smaller business, it's at $15 a month. It's a lot cheaper than the big one that starts with S.
Exactly.
I'm excited to learn more of how it works with that and analyzes it. I'm too very passionate about what our first level AI machine learning is going to bring us better data, and it seems to me I have actually a programming background, but I've been out of it so long. Nice. But I appreciate what it offers, and excited that you're working in that area.
No, absolutely, and I think just to talk about Nimble a bit, it's not just that it's $15 a month compared to the big S, but it's also better. I mean, I think talking about like a salesperson's experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really built for you, and I think there's a lot of other tools out there, and they're great for teams, and they have such a wide variety of features and functionality, and for so many teams, it's obviously the right solution. But if you're in a small organization, or even just a lot of sales individuals that kind of have this and then want to manage their data themselves, it's just better. It's just easier to use. It has better mobile apps, like all of that stuff. I think is just better. Yeah, and kind of to your point, I think I think we're just scratching the surface in terms of what we can do in terms of analytics and machine learning in this space. And it's only in the last couple of years where we actually have the data. And social media is great for that too, because there's so much data that you can look at and that you can use, and that we can actually start looking at, and we can start analyzing in a meaningful way. And so that's something that we're really passionate about. I think there's just so much more to go. A lot of I think in sales, a lot of machine learning attention, or a lot of people talk about machine learning, talk more about lead scoring. And I think there's just so much more interesting things to do on as opposed to just ranking people. I think finding new people, figuring out what's important about what they say, finding those opportunities, I think is so interesting.
Connections, the relationships you might have met.
Yeah.
Did you know so-and-so's connected to so-and-so? Just like
absolutely
LinkedIn years ago, I'd go, just look up and see who else they're connected to. You want to
exactly
to company X and you go, Bob and Judy are there. Well, you need to be buying lunch for Bob and Judy, not doing this.
For sure. And I think our ability, and LinkedIn is such a great example. You have this incredible, these sets of connections that you can start using to find those links. And I think what a lot of people underappreciate is it's not just there, and it's not just who you follow and who you unfollow. It's also who you talk about, who you talk to. If you comment on the same post, like there's all these connections out there in the world that people aren't really using yet. I think some people are, but they're spending a lot of work looking up and figuring that out. And that's, I think, one of the big challenges for social selling almost as an industry is how can we make that easier? How can we surface that? Because I think those are the moments, like finding some of those joint connections, those are the moments, or shared interests. Those are the moments where you can really make a connection with somebody, which is exactly what we want to do.
I love that it's free to get started. And yeah. I found that my mortgage does not take goodwill. So do you have a plan for like keeping the free version and then making some money too that you can talk about? Because I already want you guys to be around a long time. And
for sure.
And
I absolutely
always have a generous beginning version.
Yeah, no, I think so. So we're very committed to the free version. I think it's almost like, it's weird. Like for me, it's almost like the Twitter app being free. I think there should be something like what we do for salespeople, and I think it just needs to be in everybody's toolbox. And there's this kind of basic functionality I think everybody just have, and that's what we want to support. We also love it that we have a lot of users. And if we have a free version, we have more users, which means that there's more people that we can learn from, and there's more people that can give us great ideas. So I think it's very everybody wins. But we're actually working with a couple of teams right now, and we're basically have a team version that we're preparing. Good. Where if you have an entire team that's using the app, you get a dashboard, or your sales management or sales operations gets a dashboard that shows you a whole bunch of other information around how social are your salespeople being, how many times are you actually engaging with them. One thing that we're really excited about is something, actually you don't really have a name yet for it yet, but if you, like how many of the people that you sell to, you're actually connected with on social. So I think that it's a very interesting metric, like that tells you a lot about how socially active your salespeople actually are, but also how effective their particular territory or target might even be. So I think there's some really interesting stuff that we're doing there, and we're working with a couple of teams right now that are in private beta that are trying those features out, and so we're probably like in a couple of months or so, I think we'll be able to release something public around that, which will be very exciting. That
sounds really good, because you got the free version for the individual, and then possibly selling a team version for an enterprise level. To me, would be a very nice ethical boundary to go in. You're learning from us, individual. Everyone can get on and play. And then look, if you're in a business driving as a team, you've got more sales and revenue. Pay for the enterprise level and the tools. That's exactly it. Brilliant idea. We'll come up with a name for it for you.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, no, I think it's a great. Yeah, I think it's a great model, and everybody wins, and everybody pays for the value that they get, which is great.
And I agree. But I think that one of the things you mentioned that I really am very interested in hearing more about is how the measurement of it and actually proving the value of looking at your particular territory and understanding, how connected in your territory are you actually, or just in your industry or however. Giving those metrics back to a salesperson or even sales management is just phenomenal, because it proves the value, or it doesn't prove the value of what we're all trying to accomplish with regards to social selling. And that's, I think, one of the biggest hesitations that sales teams actually have our sales management has in adopting social selling, and why there's still some of them are still stuck in that traditional sales approach, that they don't know how to measure it. And I think it takes companies like yours, and with evangelists like us, and trainers like us, to kind of show them the way into measuring social selling and those activities.
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely.
Yeah, I really appreciate you innovating on that. That's new to me, and I'd love to, as it gets released and you feel comfortable with putting it out there in the press, and we'd absolutely love to hear a lot more about that. I'm sure our audience would as well.
For sure, yeah. No, absolutely. And maybe just I just want to pile on to it a bit. So one of the customers that we're working with right now, we're doing I think some really innovative things around like direct attribution of social selling. So when there's a social selling connection or a social media connection that happens between a particular rep or somebody inside of the account team with a particular lead or a contact or an account, we capture that and we attribute that straight into their CRM. And we track it as separate campaigns, or actually as a particular campaign, and all of that flows back to all of their marketing and their sales dashboards. And it's kind of to your point. I think a lot of people, actually, that particular team, the salespeople on the ground love it as a tool. The sales management, loves it, that they love it, but their prime goal is how can we measure this activity that we're putting in there. And I think that's really the golden nuggets that I think a lot of people are trying to crack, and we're doing the same thing. Yeah.
What would you say what is your definition of social selling? And I'd love to just kind of collecting definitions. And how do you define it?
For sure. I think it's such a hard question. There's so many ways of, the one that I usually use is, I think social selling is pretty simply the activity of building rewarding relationships with your prospects on social media. And I think all of those kind of components of that word are important. Like, you want to build relationship. It's not about these small transactional things. Sometimes I talk to investors that think that social selling is about having a buy button on your LinkedIn page or your Twitter page where you can just go in and like buy something. I think, as a lot of people know, it's more than that. Like, good sales is about building relationships. I think those relationships need to be rewarding, and they need to be linked to. You need to be talking to the right audience, and you obviously want to progress people on a particular inside of the sales process. And I think that is important too. And then the only thing that we're starting to stretch a bit is this idea of social media. I think right now we're obviously very targeted towards Twitter and Instagram. For me, it's like social media is anything that's social online. So one of the big areas that we're looking at are commenting and forum sites and tools that are out there. And a big thing that we're looking at for now, and I just want to kind of stretch people's, because I think social selling encapsulates all of that. It's beyond just what we consider to be these core social media things like Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook, but it also goes into, for example, Slack. We see a lot of people that are using Slack not just to talk within their organization, but actually to talk to peers. So we've got a customer that's in the graphic design business, and there's this Slack instance out there with tens of thousands of people talking to each other about graphic design, and that's an incredible, great environment for people to hook into. So for us, it's pretty wide what social media is, but I think that's really it: building rewarding relationships with your prospects and your leads on social media. That's what I would consider it social selling to be. Yeah.
Perfect.
Well, I want to say something really interesting. You mentioned Slack because a friend of mine's built up a pretty successful team of guys around the country selling an online product, and they use Slack for communicating, and they love it. Yeah. And that leads to any favorite project managers that you want to talk about, because I'm always, we work with people I work with people from the micro up to the larger small businesses. And so I always like to have products to offer that start at free and then you pay for it. Then I've covered everyone. Anything you like in that? Like what Trello or anything like that any personal preferences you have?
Yeah, no, I think so. We're huge Slack fans. Just to begin, actually, Slack also Slack was started by Stuart Butterfield. He's also a Vancouver boy, although they're most of their office is in San Francisco right now. So big fans of Slack, big fans of Trello. We use Trello everywhere. We also use Post-its. You can see them behind Post-its over there.
Yes, right. And
Post-its for the really important stuff.
apparently, if the power goes off, Post-its still work, is what I've heard. Is that
Exactly,
right?
they still work. The only problem is sometimes they stop sticking, and then there's like a lost Post-it underneath. Oh, that was important. No, so we're just huge fans of that. We're also huge fans of, and they also have a free version, Uber Conference. I mean, if people are really into conferencing, it's hard to find good conferencing solutions. Uber Conference is incredible. Such a great tool. So huge fans of that. Yeah, and those are kind of probably the main tools that we use, and obviously Google Apps. Yeah.
Have you played with Zoom at all for the other, when you need more than 10 people to meet?
Zoom.
No.
Zoom.us. It's where I'm looking at it for an affordable thing for graduates of my social media management program, because we can only get 10 on Hangout. And it seems to have less overhead than what's the big guy?
Well, GoToMeeting or anything like that. But Zoom's not bad. I've tried out Zoom a little bit. I'm familiar with Uber Conference. I haven't tried them, but we might have to give them a swing. But I think that sometime a couple of years ago, I think Yahoo actually made an investment in Zoom.
Really?
Yeah.
Tried them.
So they have to. Yeah, they have the recording capability too, which was downloaded as an MP4. Mm-hmm. So I think that let's see, we had. So with regards to your, so we've covered.
We got a big bulletin board.
We do.
Here,
we're looking at this thing.
We're
like
on track here.
We've talked about how you can filter and organize.
We're not having visions. We actually have a board back there.
That's perfect.
So we talked about filtering and organizing the folks on within the application, and then I don't know if we've really talked about how engaging actually looks for a salesperson.
Yeah, good.
So the notification comes in. And you can get it on your watch, get it on your phone. As soon as you slide down the notification, takes you right into the application. So why don't we talk about from there? What are you seeing your users do to engage with that notification if they choose to?
For sure, yeah. It's interesting. So when we do some training around this as well, around what do you do if you find something that's highly relevant? Because it could be highly relevant because of a couple of reasons. It could be a competitor reaching out to one of your leads. Like, that's a highly relevant thing. It's probably not something that you're going to favorite. It's probably not something you're going to retweet or you're going to broadcast back out there. But so that might be a piece of information that you that you mentally store, or that you just remember, or something. It's just a piece of information that you have that you might act on later. I think most of the actual interactions or engagements that people do is when they have one of their contacts or influencers or leads or prospects, and when they're engaging with a piece of content, or they're engaging with another person about a topic that's relevant to you. And we see most people actually respond to them. So you can, if you swipe up the notification, you go into a detail of the post, and you can click around there to figure out, gives you some more information about the post. But you can also write in there, reply to, just like you could in Twitter, reply to the particular tweet and start engaging inside of that conversation. You can also obviously favorite and retweet if you want to. But I think it's, I think that our ability to, when you go and when you slide in a notification, to very quickly tell you, this is a relevant post, this is why it's relevant, these are a couple of things that we found inside of this post that made it relevant, it happened super close to you, it mentions something that's important inside of your industry, like all of those things are really important to you, and that gives you enough information to be able to respond with. One thing that I think that's not very obvious in the beginning, and we should make more obvious, is when we do our analysis, we actually don't just look at the post itself, we also look at any links inside of the post. So if somebody posts a particular link to an article, we actually go and read the article and see if it mentions anything that's related to you or your competitors. So it's a very deep analysis that we do. And those are the kinds of things that are interesting, because we can say, hey, this guy just responded to an article, and this particular article actually mentions your company. That's probably something you want to respond with and say, hey, if you want to talk more about this particular subject, you can reach out to me. I'd love to help you out.
Very interesting. I didn't realize that you actually went out and took a look at the article and scanned it for those terms. That's pretty that's pretty incredible, because some people do have a tendency to forget to put that hashtag in there, right?
That's exactly it, and it's those kinds of moments that are the most unexpected. Like if somebody like just mentions your company, that's great. It's rare, I think, if somebody or actually says, I want to buy a product of this kind, they're more likely going to be commenting or posting a review that compares a couple of similar products, or maybe even a review specifically of your product, or maybe just a piece by an analyst or an industry person or an influencer about the space. Like those are the types of moments that we want to capture.
Awesome, very good. All right, so so you have a couple integrations coming up soon. Is this what I hear? Is there anything? Anything you're open with sharing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So probably the most exciting one, and this is it's actually the first time that we talk about this publicly, is Hootsuite. So nice. We're very excited about integrating with Hootsuite. We've got a lot of our customers. So it's actually interesting. Like I think a lot of Hootsuite was originally built for customer service teams and for marketing, but you just see this massive amount. A lot of people in social selling use Hootsuite all the time. We included, huge fans. But so it was a very kind of natural marriage to say, okay, can we take our functionality and bake it right into the Hootsuite dashboards? So that's something that's going to be released in the next little bit. We're going to do kind of a soft launch probably in the next week or so, next couple of days or week, and we're working already with a couple of partners, a couple of customers that are trying it out, and I think that's really interesting, because you can use all of the existing Hootsuite functionality, and then you can just download us inside of the Hootsuite app store. Actually, forget what the name of it is. Hootsuite app thing, and you can install it as a plugin, and it can just be it shows Sales Prodigy just side by side by all the rest. It looks great, and we're really excited to be able to publish it out. And then we're working on a lot of CRM integrations. So Nimble is very high on our list. Huge fans, and I think there's just very natural, just very complementary, and huge fans of John's we talked about before. And then the other big CRM that we're going after right now is HubSpot. So big fans of HubSpot as well. Talking about tools that have good free versions. HubSpot CRM, I think, is always free. Yeah. And really, we're actually pretty big fans of that tool as well. Yeah.
Very good. Well, it's good to hear that we're first to share that you'll be announcing Hootsuite, which means that as soon as we're done, I'm going to hurry up and get the audio out of this and make sure it gets onto iTunes as soon as possible. So we are the first to announce that.
Exactly.
But
scoop, man.
So what is just out of curiosity, what's the experience like inside Hootsuite? Because it is, if somebody who has maybe they're not paying the $10 a month or part of the enterprise version of Hootsuite, are they going to be able to get your application? And then in addition, what does that experience look like inside Hootsuite?
Great question. So it's going to be available to anybody. It will be a free stream, so anybody can download. I don't think it's restricted. Not 100% sure actually, but I don't think it's restricted in any of the editions. And that's great. And then it's actually kind of cool. You go in and you add the Sales Prodigy stream, and then we just take you, if you already have an account with us through the mobile app, it will just pick up all of your settings. You don't have to do anything. It will just kind of start working, and it will create separate, or you'll be able to create separate streams for each of the different categories of information. So you could just have a home stream, which is great, which is what you see in the app as well. Well, you can also, for example, filter and say, just show me all of the posts related to competitors, or all of the posts related to my prospects. Like all of those things can just be separate streams. And so most of the people that are using it right now, they have a separate dashboard set with all Sales Prodigy streams, and then they have their home Sales Prodigy stream sitting on their home dashboard as well. So if you already have an account, we just pick up all of your settings, and it's all synchronized. So everything you do inside of Hootsuite is synchronized on your phone as well, which is great. And if you don't have an account, we just take you through the setup process right inside of Hootsuite, and you can set everything up just as you like it.
Very, very good. Well, that makes it very, very simple. I'm excited to hear. So when was the? Do you have a planned date as to when that launches?
So it's kind of going through some last approvals right now. So in a week or so, I think that's. So what is it? Today it's the 14th. so around the 21st of August. Yeah.
Very good. All right. Well,
get it out there. Yeah.
We'll make sure that we do get a link out there to that as well, to your announcement of that. So that's fantastic.
I just John just posted something about etiquette and social selling on your app, and I just retweeted it while we were doing it. So
nice. Hey, excellent. It's working.
Thanks a lot, guys. And I really wanted, I started it right before the show, so I'd be fresh with using it, and that's exciting. I got it. He's somebody I care about what he has to say, and I was able to retweet it right from that, and it gave me a nice "Do you want to retweet?" So it's like, I think you made it so that the people that I call them the over 40 crowd, which I'm in, we didn't grow up in this, so we're a little more versus the younger, they just bring it up, and I think they lean it to their forehead and they understand it fully. But
yeah, it's kind of sorry, I lost you there for a bit. Am I back again?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I think it's. I mean, like I said, like we target everybody. But I think if something is easy to use, it's easy to use for everybody, and that's kind of where we want to go. Yeah,
very good.
Very important to us. Yeah,
well,
thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna. So we're coming up on our time here, but so go ahead and tell us real quick, where can you get the application and anything like that, and how do we learn more about Sales Prodigy and you?
Yeah. So to get the app. Super easy. Go on the Play Store, go on the App Store, the Apple App Store, and just search for Sales Prodigy, and should be the first result that you get. You can just download it right there, log in with Twitter. I think the setup takes less than 30 seconds or less than a minute, or at least. So it's very, very easy to get started, and it's pretty hands off. So you go through the initial setup. And from that moment onwards, we'll call you. You don't have to spend a lot of time in it. You don't have to do a lot of work in it, which I think a lot of people appreciate as well. Also, if you want to read up more on the app and what we're doing inside of Teams, definitely go to www.salesprodigy.com. We've got a lot of more information on there. We also have our blog where we post kind of tips and tricks and how people are using it in different ways. And we also have a lot of content there around social selling in general that we're constantly updating. So really trying to build a community around this concept of social listening and social selling, and you kind of join this larger conversation. And and I think maybe the last thing to add in, if anybody has any ideas or if they're trying to figure out if it's something that they want to that would be good for them, we'd love to talk to you as well. I mean, we're very eager to talk to all of our users, to all of our potential users, and learn about what we can do to make your life better.
Very good. Well, I have a few ideas, but I'm gonna we'll do it after the podcast. Maybe a few days here.
We'll be going for hours.
Yeah, we could be. So,
no, this is great. We want to get you back on the show. So we invite people to leave comments wherever they are, and what's other places for them to let us know, because that will help us build the next interview.
Absolutely. So if if for listeners out there, if you liked our interview here with Mik from Sales Prodigy, then by all means leave a comment out there on the in the iTunes store,
or wherever you're listening,
whether Stitcher, TuneIn, or PlayerFM, and say hi to Mik as well, because I'm sure he'd love to hear from you too.
I'll be there.
and then for other if you're watching the video or anything like that on YouTube, make sure you leave a comment in there too. Let us know if you're using the application or if you downloaded it, tried it, and give us your feedback. I'm sure we'll have a way to funnel it over to Mik. I'm sure he'll be following up on this too. So, Mik, thank you very much for coming and joining us today. Greatly appreciate it, and love your insight on social listening. And thank you for your contribution to making it easier for salespeople to do social listening and social selling.
Excellent. This is Martin Brossman.
and Greg Hyer, and you've been watching. Oh, and go ahead, Mik.
Go ahead, Mik.
Oh yeah. I just want to say thanks so much to you as well. Like, yeah, it was great being on the show, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. And thanks so much for all your insights.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for everyone for listening to the Linking into Sales Social Selling podcast. We hope you have a great day, and catch us on the next episode.
Awesome.
You can go from don't end broadcast. I think you can quit and go from hit stop broadcast. Hang on. There you go.